Okay, so today we're talking about rational exponents, which is just another way to say that these exponents have fractions, okay? So we have the square root of a is the same as a to the 1/2. Now, whenever you just have the root power here, there is an invisible 2 there, okay? Cubed root is the same as a to the 1/3. Fourth root is the same as a to the 1/4. Fifth root is the same as a to the 1/5. And sixth root of a is the same as a to the 1/6. Now, these are your roots, right? So this is how you rewrite it as a fraction. This is a little like basic example, but let's use some numbers. So like if I have the square root of 49, that's the same as 49 to the 1/2. And then in my calculator, I can do 49, you can do the caret to get to the fraction, and then alpha y equals enter. You can make it into a fraction. You can go like that, or you can do 49 caret and then 1/2 and a parentheses like this. Either one of those is fine. As you can see, I get the same answer. So I got 7. Next up, let's try the third root of 64. This is the same as 64 to the 1/3. And then in my calculator, whatever way you choose, I got 4. All right, so why don't you guys try the fourth root of 81, rewriting both pieces, the fifth root of 32, and the sixth root of 64. Okay, so why don't you guys try these three? Give me this, give me this. Okay, so here should be your answers. Now let's go through, let's take this step and let's apply it a little further. So if I have, we're gonna start on the left side here, translate between a radical and exponent. So if I have 6 to the 1/3, this is the same as the third root of 6, okay? Now this one is a little bit more challenging. We have 3x to the 1/2. This 3 is its own friend, and then this 1/2 is only attached to that x. So that's where I'm gonna do just the square root of x. Okay, so you gotta be careful. See, there's no parentheses. That 1/2 is only attached to the x. And we're gonna repeat that, right? So we got this 12 here, and it's gonna stay just 12 because x to the 1/4 is only attached to that x. So I'm gonna have the fourth root of x. All right, why don't you try these two? All right, so this one we got the third root of y, and then 7y to the 1/2 is gonna be translated to 7y square root z. That 1/2 is only attached to that z. Now let's do the reverse, right? So in this one we have the fifth root of m. Now technically this m has a 1, so that's why we have m to the 1/5, okay? This one is a little bit more challenging. The square root of 11b, okay? This whole thing is being square rooted. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 11b in a parentheses, and it's to the 1/2, because remember there's like a little 2 there, okay? And this whole thing is like to the 1 power. Why don't you guys try these two on your own? All right, so this one, it's like this c has a 1, so we have c to the 1/3. This is like a 1, but remember there's an invisible 2 with this square root. So we have 37 to the 1/2. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna simplify using our calculator. So what we wanna do first is like, let's look at this one, 64 to the 1/2, okay? All I want you to do is type that into your calculator. So 64 to the 1/2, just 8. 9 to the 1/2, just 3. I want you guys to do these next 3 on your own. Okay, so you should have gotten 2, 5, and 20. Now, if I want to find the fourth root of 81, okay, you can do this 2 ways, okay? You can rewrite this as 81 to the 1/4, and you can figure out that way, or you can use your calculator. Hit the math button, go down to number 5 here where it's got an X for that nth root number. And you put a 4, and then I scoot over, type in my 81, and I get 3. And I would get 3 even if I did 81 to the 1/4. Either of those are fine. All right, so again, that's the math button. You go to number 5, and then you're able to type in your nth root number and the number you are rooting, okay? All right, so this one, we got the square root of 169. So I can rewrite this as 169 to the 1/2. Oops, let's make it so you can see it, right? And then, so I can either type it in this way or type it in this way. I will show you both. So I'm gonna hit math, go down. There's an invisible 2 there with 169. And I got 13, or I can do 169 to the 1/2. And I also get 13. So once again, both are good answers. I want you guys to try these two on your own. All right, so in this one, you could rewrite it as 125 to the 1/3, which would give you 5, or you could rewrite the cube root of 64 as 64 to the 1/3, and you would get 4, okay? Now, this is all nice because all of these have just like that 1 as your top number, right? Because all of these technically have an exponent of 1, so that's how that works. But what happens if you don't have that? So let's look at some of these. So let's look at this first one here. Let's say we have the square root of 9, all of that to the 3rd power. Now remember, there's like this invisible 2 here, okay? And we could rewrite this as the square root of 9 to the 3rd power. This is the same thing, all right? Which is also the same thing as 9 to the 2/3, right? Because again, there's technically that invisible 2. I'm sorry, 3/2. I did it backwards. All right, so your exponent is the top of your fraction, the numerator. Your radical number is your nth root is your denominator. And then I would just type this into my calculator. So I got 9 to the 3 divided by 2, and I get 27. Sorry for the boo-boo there. Okay, so why don't you just use this example and see if you can fill out the rest of these that I have for you here. So that's 64, and then we got the 4th root of 81, all of that to the 3rd power, and then we have the 5th root of 32, all of that to the 2nd power. So rewrite it like how I have it in this column, rewrite it as a fraction exponent, and then give me the beautiful number it's going to make. All right, these are the answers you should have gotten. Let's go through and do some more examples. Okay, so notice that like I got kind of like the same type of numbering situations kind of going on at the top and at the bottom, okay? So I'm showing you like how we had 6 to the 1/3 is just the cube root of 6. But if I have 6 to the 4/3, that is the same as either one of these. You could do the 3rd root of 6 to the 4th, or you could say the 3rd root of 6, all of that to the 4th power, right? Those are the same type of answers. So I'm gonna give the dual versions for each one. Now this one, once again, that 3 is on its own. That exponent, that fractional exponent here is only attached to that x. So that 3 is all on its own. I'm gonna give my 2 examples. Now, this x to the 3/2, we can rewrite it as the 3rd root of x squared, or we can say the square of the 3rd root of x. Ooh, that sounds crazy, okay? Either of those are gonna be good answers. They're possible ones that you will see. I have a feeling you would probably see this guy more than you would see this parentheses guy. All right, why don't you try these next 3 totally on your own? We have this 12 is by itself, right? That exponent is not attached to that 12, so it's going to be by itself. Then we have 12 with the 4th root of x to the 3rd. And then we have the cube of the 4th root of x with that 12 still by itself. And then here's the two, oh, I put x. Oh my goodness. Y, Miss Rawolf, Y. These are y's. I love x's. I don't know why. All right, so we have y to the 5/3 power. So we can rewrite it as the cube root of y to the 5th, or we could write it with the cube root on the inside with parentheses and that 5th power on the outside. Both of these are good answers. They mean this, all three of these mean the same thing. And then we got this last guy here as well. Now let's look at this next bit. We have the 5th root of m to the 3rd power. So we got m, the 3 is the exponent, and the 5 is the bottom of my exponent. Okay, so that 3 is your numerator or the top number. The number with your radical is always going to be your denominator. Same with this guy. Now here we want to be careful, because see how this whole 11b, this entire thing is to the 5th power? So you kind of want to keep that parentheses going, right? And then there's technically an exponent of 2 with this radical. And there we go. So why don't you guys try these last two totally on your own? So this one changes to c to the 5/3, and this one changes to 37 to the 3/2. Remember, when it's just got the radical, there's technically an invisible 2 going on there. Now I'm going to simplify using my calculator. And once again, just like before, it's like the same type of numbers, but now this time we have numerators that aren't 1. So here we go. This, I'm going to type it just how I see it. 3 divided by 2, and I get 512. Ooh, that's a big old number. This one, I'm going to type it just like I see it. 5 divided by 2. I get 243. So why don't you guys try these last three totally on your own? All right, hopefully you got these as your answers. And if not, you made a boo-boo along the way. All right, this next one, we can do 2 ways, right? Honestly, I'm gonna just rewrite this as a fraction. So I lied, we're gonna do this one way. I'm gonna do this as 81, and then this is gonna be an exponent of 3/4, because remember, this is your numerator or your top number. Your radical number is your denominator or the bottom. So I'm gonna just do it this way, because honestly, this is how I would do it. I wouldn't do it the other way. And I got 27, okay? Why don't you guys try these next 3 on your own? All right, so in this one, you ended up with 2/2 as your exponent fraction when you did the mathiness. You got 169. Your exponent fraction is gonna be 4/3 for 125, and when you do the mathiness, you get 625. And then when you rewrite this one as a fraction, you get 64 to the 2/3, and when you do the mathiness, you get 16. Sorry this is a longer video, but there are so many ways you can write this, so we need to make sure that y'all know all the different ways that we could write this, and I hope you have beautiful, amazing days.